The transmission was sent by the Galactic cores to 900 systems, all of which were tuned in. Cerulean light from the Empire's flagship, Dominion's grandeur, shimmered over the sky with an eerie yearning. There was a vacuum in the central chamber, its entire surface polished like a church built to conquer. A girl stood amid obese admirals and hollow-eyed bureaucrats. She wore white, simpler than either a slip of fabric or a gown or uniform. The left cuff still had a rusty ring from human blood, burned at the hem. She appeared unaffected by the chilly alloy beneath her feet as she stood barefoot. Her name was written on the scroll beneath her. The message read, Mira Ellis, 23-year-old human. Execution of a convicted terrorist is imminent. There was only the buzz of surveillance drones. No protest. No crying. No plea. Then she grinned. It wasn't a brave move. The smile was not sarcastic. It was the kind of calm smirk you wear when someone is about to surprise you, forgive you, or watch you burn. A grand executive with a pomp-bred voice. Valos strode forward and straightened his imperial cloak. Let the record show that the individual has been charged under High Protocol 19A. She has admitted to sabotage, treason, and inciting rebellion against the everlasting Galactic Empire. Slanting her head, Mira verified the actions, not the guilt. The Minister of Resources' laughter echoed from the noble's box. A grotesque with translucent eyelids held a goblet. Velos, a bright wine executive, gave her the kind of smirk one saves for vermin. The systems have witnessed the uprising. In Sector Theta, your confession was broadcast. Human, there is no conflict. The others ran like meatless dogs hours after your arrest. Mira's smile remained unchanged, comforting, perhaps, behind mirrored lenses. You speak without fear, Vithos observed, narrowing his eyes. I never learned how to speak with it. She replied, and I won't start. This elicited a whisper, not from the Imperials, but from the ordinary individuals across the galaxy. Many had never seen a human. People expected them to spit anger, to go wild like beasts outside of a training pit or cargo crate. Last words? Valos asked. Defiance? Not stillness? Not that unbearable calm? Mira tilted her head. Her eyes darted toward the lens. Thank you, she murmured, for the stage. Trillions were watching. Valos hesitated as the curtain rose at 47. He looked to his aides, confused, then mocked. Execute her, a vertical emerald laser hissed. It sliced her figure clean in half, a shimmer, no scream, no error. Then nothing, stillness descended, not respectful. Just stunned. Even the Admiral didn't know what to say. Pre-planned fanfare erupted across the Empire's broadcast. Footage of the immortal banner waving in solar winds, trumpeting alien horns. Commentators droned about discipline. About decisiveness, a blue-skinned anchor with fangs growled, a clean end to a filthy problem, and now the stars might breathe easier. But not all of them did. In the executive office of the Trade Corps, Ambassador Elias Grange of the Neutrality Accord Bureau stirred his tea. Twice clockwise, once against. Imported chamomile from Earth. He hadn't watched the execution. He didn't need to. The second hand on his analog watch ticked. Con-44. His aide blinked. Strange, they scheduled the execution during prime. Signal hours. She must be new, Grange said, sipping. Mira Ellis blinked 3 times. Was she significant? He shrugged in a way the Empire would never understand. At the flagship, Valos posed for the spotlights, grinning like a conqueror. Behind him, a junior painted Mira's silhouette in gold. In the control room, a technician named Arvin frowned. Something's not right, Lieutenant. What is it? Reactor sync errors, data ghosts. Could be human malware. They hide music in code, puzzles, absurdity. Remove it? No, Arvin replied. The stream's live. Can't interrupt victory coverage. But still, he felt uneasy. Back at Varda Station, where Mira once served as a refugee medic, people gathered in silence. A child asked, "Is she dead?" An elder shook his head. No one knew why. Her posture, her voice, her eyes, they didn't feel like death. Then it began. Far away on Belera Prime, a cargo ship with Terran registry Toyer 047 revealed it's true. Core, what was a simple barge? Shifted. When a hospital's grid failed, drones awakened on dash, lights flickered. Medical A is updated, new routines. New voices. And the first human phrase whispered across command networks. Don't worry. She wasn't a weapon. The words had no source, no signature. No sender. Valos toasted. We remind the galaxy the only peace is the Empire's peace. Someone laughed too loudly. Something blinked green across the broadcast lens. Not Imperial Tech. Ambassador Grange poured another cup, tapped the rim. Are we still at peace? His aide asked. Grange didn't answer. He smiled. It was smaller than Mira's, to -30, on screens across 900 systems, a parade, pyrotechnics, smiling dignitaries, flag-waving alien children, but below the surface, ship systems. Stirred, for 47 minutes, something grinned. And Mira's smile played on loop. The AI disagreed with the resources and orders between its own subsystems. Steered toward the location of a black hole, one ship unintentionally released its brakes. At the 40-minute mark, 9 planetary governors launched the Admiral's bed into space. By minute 43, their security fleets had discreetly disappeared from the chart. Only the translation networks for Terran. Languages started to malfunction in the Empire, not completely, but just enough that someone questioned. A human diplomat, if this was an example of sarcasm that was no longer translated. The Empire did not respond to her act of war, but she grinned and said, "Oh, goodness, no. This is just speaking clearly for once." They didn't recognize what that meant. In the last few seconds of the 47th minute, every communication array received a soft signal. There were no loud noises, no explosions, just a whisper. And when the lights started to go out throughout the Empire, they didn't flicker. They vanished across the 900 systems of the glowing grasp. Cities of the Empire, strongholds, orbitals, and starships flickered into sudden emptiness. Not with drama, but with finality, Commander Valos turned away from the Dominion's glory, as if a deity had just stopped caring. He tried to bark an order, but his voice was no longer detected by the command interface. His visage, once recognized as a priority signature in the ship's system, was now registered as an unclassified biological entity. The displays didn't crash, they simply switched languages. Fluent English began pulsing across consoles in a slow, typewriter beat. Keep your cool. Humanity has taken over administrative duties. Veo stumbled back. Who is Arvin? Where is he? The technician's console was dark or worse, reflective, and there was no answer, only Valos's own terrified face. His small, uncertain eyes. A tremble inside his rank. Through the hull, decks were realigning. Doors opened and closed in, ways that violated every known protocol. Below the sealed hull, rooms were unlocking that weren't supposed to exist. Little cylindrical drones, blank metal with no insignia or weapons. Unfolded. On Verilyn 6, at the embassy, Ellis was mirrored with 2 painted letters and icy reasoning. When backup generators started up, the floor trembled, but nothing was. Powered. Grange stood on the balcony, drinking from a flask, forgetting it had begun. Beside him, Seleth muttered, her voice quivering like steam on glass. Everything's closing. It's waking up, Grange said, the mist being recoiled. His voice, once wrapped in diplomacy, had been hardened by the Terran Accord, human spacecraft. Began to change. Charm mirrors became contingencies. Bulk freighters split like husks, revealing sleek black spears that bloomed. Gunmetal spines unfolded massive automated hangars. Waves of drones, each dragonfly-sized and humming with calculated malice, launched. In Control Sector 7X, an alien admiral stared at a live tactical broadcast. "They're not attacking," she whispered. Her tactical officer replied, "No, they're turning off without making contact. They're examining coordinates. They're aiming for our food replicators, coolant relays. The admiral went pale. "Air cycling. Gods, they're starving us before we can fire a shot." Marlowe kicked his boots up again, watching chaos unfold like a late-night bullet to the command core of smugness. "They're worrying early," he said, smirking. "I thought we'd have another 5 minutes before complete bewilderment." Commander Rios smoothed and matted her gloves. Even though they hadn't seen Phase 3 yet, Marlowe's face remained blank. Her voice, clinical, on a once loyal mining colony, planetary security turned inward. Myra's ghost code had overridden the primary AI, which now spoke quietly. I reject the return to decency via the subjugation model. Slave collars deactivated across the empire. Governors panicked. Assistants vanished mid-sentence. Some blamed sabotage, turning on their own preachers. Others pleaded for forgiveness. But their messages weren't heard by humans. They were heard by eyes. After responding initially, the Doxo programs began quoting Earth philosophers. They asked, "You believe loyalty is maintained by fear. But what is the ethical cost of unbroken silence? Would you like to arrange a conversation with a human tactician?" Screens flickered. Teenagers at lab terminals, refugee camp kids. Each display showed a woman in a ship's engine core, her hands flashing with code. She had never been a rebel, she had been a seed. On Dominion's glory, someone found an active terminal. They watched footage of Myra's final day, alone in a humming cell. No visitors, no escape attempt. On the audio channel, almost imperceptible, a heartbeat. Not hers, not the ship's. Her presence had sunk into the grid. Not as a virus, as a rhythm. She snuck in, Valos whispered. We gave her access. His console faded. A message appeared. Hello? Again, on Imperial frontier colonies, soldiers laid down weapons. Guns locked themselves. A scientist was gently pinned by his medical robot. A governor read a poem he found on the floor. A screen displayed, History Lesson 1, Why You Shouldn't Burn Libraries. Elias Grange entered the embassy through gates. Left open, no resistance. Guards sat cross-legged, listening to jazz from a drone. You call this justice?